So I have an ever-growing TBR that desperately needs to be cut down, and to try and get through it, I decided to find the highest and lowest rated books on my TBR according to Goodreads and read them and see how they compare. So I have a shelf on my Goodreads account that is basically all the books I own but have not read yet. I sorted it by rating on this shelf to see what had the highest rating, what had the lowest rating, and the book that had the highest rating was Servant and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I believe this is like a vampire fantasy romance book, which I'm actually so excited for. And this book is about humans and vampires, and the rules of survival are the same. Never trust, never yield, and always, always guard your heart. The adopted human daughter of the Nightborn vampire king, Araya, carved her place in the world designed to kill her. Her only chance to become something more than prey is entering the Kajari, a legendary tournament held by the goddess of death herself. But winning won't be easy amongst the most vicious warriors from all three vampire houses. To survive, Araya is forced to make an alliance with a mysterious rival. Everything about Rain is dangerous. He's a ruthless vampire, an efficient killer, an enemy to her father's crown, and her greatest competition. Yet what terrifies Araya most of all is that she finds herself oddly drawn to him. But there's no room for compassion in the Kajari. War for the House of Night brews, shattering everything that Araya thought she knew about her home. And Rain may understand her more than anyone, but their blossoming attraction could be her downfall in a kingdom where nothing is more deadly than love. So this sounds so up my alley. This sounds like my perfect book, honestly. Fantasy romance, definitely my favorite genre. I cannot wait to read this. And then the lowest rated book, which I was very surprised by on my Goodreads, was Mr. Wrong Number. And I will say, by lowest rated, I think it still has like a 3.7 average rating, which is pretty good. Like, Goodreads ratings are a bit inflated, I think. But I'm also very excited about this book. I've said this so many times, but I love Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, so I've been very excited to read one of her adult romances. And this book is about Olivia Marshall, who bad luck has always followed. But when a "what are you wearing" text from a random number turns into the hottest, most entertaining, albeit anonymous, relationship of her life, she thinks things might be on the upswing. Colin Beck has always considered Olivia his best friend's annoying little sister, but when she moves in with them after one of her worst runs of luck, he realizes she's become an altogether different and sexier distraction. He's sure he can keep his distance until the moment he discovers she's the irresistible Miss style he's been sort of sexting for weeks, and now he has to decide whether to turn up the heat or ghost her before things get messy. So I've honestly heard pretty good things about this book. I have pretty high hopes that I am going to really enjoy this. I think I'm going to read this book first, one because it's the lower rated one, so we can save the higher rated one for last, and also because I do have a feeling that once I read Serpent and the Wings of Night, I am going to immediately want to read the second book. That's who I am. So we're starting with this one, which I am honestly super excited to read. So I think I might walk over to Starbucks and get a drink, and then we will sit in the backyard for a little while and get started on book number 1. The opening line of this is already so iconic. It says, "It started the night after I burned down my building," from Olivia's perspective, so I'm excited. Okay, page 3, we're already at the texting wrong number exchange. Okay, I'm on page 80 / chapter 5, and this isn't really a spoiler because it's on the back, but we're finally in Colin's perspectives, and I just got to the part where he realizes that Miss Style is Olivia, and I love this book so far. I love Lynn Painter's writing. It's so entertaining. I honestly feel like I could finish this book today, but we'll see. It's a few hours later. I have read most of this book already. I would say I'm like probably 3/4 of the way through. I'm on page 246. I'm really enjoying it. I feel like Lynn Painter books are very bingeable, which is nice. I will probably finish this today, but we'll see. That being said, I don't know how I'm gonna rate this book because I'm pretty sure I know what like the final kind of third act conflict is gonna be, and I probably know how it's gonna get worked out. But it's fun, and I like the characters. I like the banter. I just don't know. I'm not getting like the butterflies in the stomach feeling that I got reading Better Than the Movies. I feel like the spice scenes in this book, which they're very, very mild, like they're pretty closed door, still feel really kind of awkward to me. I don't know. Once I finish it, hopefully I'll have a bit of a better idea. But I feel like as of right now, like 3.7 would be like pretty on point for how I feel about this book. So it's been a couple days since I last spoke to you guys, but I have barely read anything since then. But I'm thinking I can finish this tonight because I only have like this much left. I don't even know. I feel like that's less than a quarter, but I'm also really tired, so we will see. So I did end up finishing Better Than that's not what I'm reading. Mr. Wrong Number last night. And I ended up giving this book 3 stars, which is kind of disappointing because I really had high expectations for this book, which I guess is kind of my fault for like building it up. But I felt like nothing for these characters. I don't know. They like the banter was good at certain points, especially when they were texting each other like as like the Mr. Wrong Number and Miss style, but I feel like there wasn't that much chemistry between them otherwise, and they were both a little bit annoying, and they felt kind of immature for people that are supposed to be like full-grown adults. Like there were certain parts of like our main character Olivia that I thought was like cute and charming, but also like she was such a caricature that it was hard to believe some of the time. So it was fine. It's definitely not a bad book. Lynn Painter, again, queen of banter for sure, but I just didn't feel that much for them, and I didn't love the like spicy scenes in this, which again, I think I said this already, but they're very tame, but even then I still found them kind of awkward, kind of cringe. I don't know. It was not my favorite, and I think I kind of agree with the Goodreads community on this one, although my rating was lower than the average, which was 3.7 something, I think. I gave it a solid 3 stars. That's a little bit disappointing, but it's fine. I still enjoyed it. I read it pretty fast. I'm going to start Serpent in the Wings of Night soon, probably not tonight because I have to edit a different video, but I'm very excited about that book. I also have very high expectations, so we'll see how it goes. So it's a few days later. I am at my cottage now. Hopefully you can hear me because it's very windy, but I'm going to start Serpent in the Wings of Night. I am praying that this is actually as good as Goodreads says because I could use a 5-star read right now, especially after Mr. Wrong Number. Oh, there was a dog on my lap, but he left. Bye, Zeus. So fingers crossed this is good. I read to like 20-ish% last night, which is pretty good because I was very tired. And I think this book, like Fourth Wing, jumps into the action so fast that it's really, really hard to put down, which I love. Our main character, Araya, is the only human in like the vampire kingdom, and she's the adopted daughter of the vampire king. And there's this thing called the Kajari once a century where a bunch of, it's basically like the Hunger Games kind of, but with vampires, where they like fight to the death, and then the winner gets a wish from the death goddess. And so Araya is trying to win the Kajari so that she can become as powerful as the vampire king. The first trial of this has already happened and I'm only 20% in, which is very good. So I'm excited to keep reading this. So I'm now halfway into the book and this book is flying by. I feel like so much is happening, which is kind of nice because I really don't want to put it down. Suddenly I'm halfway through and I don't even know how that happened. But also, I do kind of wish that we got a little bit more downtime with the characters because I feel like I don't know them that well yet. I mean, I like them and I'm rooting for them, but I don't know that much about them. For the Kajari, there's 4 trials. I'm already on the 3rd trial now, so I don't know what exactly is going to happen in the rest of the book. But right now I feel like this is like kind of more of a 4.5 star book for me because I'm really enjoying it, but I'm not getting that like 5-star feeling. I do still have 50% of it left and anything could happen, so we'll see. So it's now actually been a few days since I finished Serpent and the Wings of Night, and I have already started the second one, so I'm going to try not to blend them together in my review because they're a little bit of a blur in my brain. But I really enjoyed this book. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. I think the plot was super interesting. The Hunger Games with vampires vibes. Pretty much the entire plot of this book is the Kajari and the like 5 challenges that all the contestants are going through, and each challenge weeds out a ton of contestants until there's one standing who gets their wish granted to them. I was kind of thinking it was going to be 4 stars until the ending, which was insane, and that kind of bumped it up to 4.5 stars because it was insane in a good way. Like a lot of things that I never saw coming, but that when you look back make a lot of sense throughout the book. It was crazy. It was like the last few chapters I was like speeding through trying to figure out what was going on. So I really liked the plot. I really liked the kind of world building in this. I think our main character Oriah is a very interesting character. We get a lot of like internal conflict throughout this book and the second book, honestly, with her character, which is I think makes her a more like complex, interesting, realistic person to read about. My only kind of wish for this book was that we got a little bit more downtime to get to know these characters better and also get to know some other characters a bit better, because I feel like people are dying all the time in this, obviously, because it's like the Hunger Games with vampires, or I guess vampires are dying. Well, people are dying too. People and vampires are dying, basically. All the time. And I didn't like feel a whole lot most of the time when they were dying, and I think it's that sounds psychopathic, but I think it's because we didn't really know much about them. They were very one-dimensional, so I think it would have had a bit more of an emotional impact throughout the story if we'd gotten a bit more like info on these characters. I think Vincent was a really interesting character. He is the vampire king and also Oriah's like adoptive father, and their relationship is very interesting because she's kind of dealing with how she feels about Vincent, her father, versus Vincent, the like brutal king. That creates a lot of that internal conflict that she's feeling throughout this book. Overall, very good book. I think if you like Fourth Wing, ACOTAR vibes, you will enjoy this book. The romance I enjoyed, but it's not my favorite. I think Rain, I'm a little bit iffy on his character, but I also think the second book is influencing that a little bit. I'm not loving the second book quite as much, but I'm only 20% in, so we will see. It's a good fantasy romance, and I'm really glad that I read it. So Goodreads is apparently kind of accurate because I ended up giving Mr. Wrong Number 3 stars, I think, and I believe the Goodreads rating was like 3.7, and then I ended up giving Serpent and the Wings of Night 4.5 stars. I think the Goodreads rating was around that as well. I guess I have the same taste as the majority of Goodreads users. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, you can subscribe down below for new bookish videos every single week, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!